Cheating counseling! Your Honor, my client does not want a divorce and is asking the court to schedule counseling. She feels the marriage is strong enough to survive this unhappiness with some help. That's what her attorney said. My soon-to-be ex-wife, Julie's attorney. My lawyer stood up. Your Honor, a 12-month affair with multiple men resulting in the birth of a child can hardly be called an accident, especially when DNA testing proves that said child is not my client's. We feel that there is no benefit in continuing this simulated marriage any further. Counseling is not going to change anything. It is because of the child that I am inclined to order counseling, said the judge. The child needs a stable home to grow up in. If you expect me to raise this cheating fool's child, I said loudly. My lawyer wrinkled his nose. The judge pounded his gavel forcefully. One more word and I'll hold you in contempt, he shouted at me. I'm ordering a month of counseling at 2 sessions a week. Otherwise... He looked at me angrily for a moment, then banged the gavel again. That's it. Julie, my soon-to-be ex-wife, looked smug as I walked into the counselor's office. I'm Dr. Sullivan, but you can call me Gerald. Can I call you Brian? He smiled at me. No, you can't. You can call me Mr. Stedman. Brian, that won't be necessary, Julie started. And you idiot, you don't have to address me at all, I snapped at her. I think we need to calm down. Please, Mr. Stedman, have a seat. He pointed to one of the chairs next to his desk. I pushed the chair a good 6 feet away from the chair Julie was sitting in and plopped into it. Gerald sighed. All right then, he began. I didn't hear anything else as I pulled out a set of AirPods, inserted them, and started listening to music from my phone. Gerald just stared at me and then spoke to Julie. I couldn't hear what he was saying. I just kept playing with my phone while listening to music. After about 15 minutes, I saw Julie stand up. She looked at me fiercely and walked out of the office. I took out my air capsules. Okay, doctor. Good session. I'll see you on Thursday. I'm canceling appointments and sending my report to the judge. Even better. The judge wasn't happy. Give me one good reason why I shouldn't hold your client in contempt, he growled at my lawyer. Your Honor, you ordered my client to attend the sessions. He attended the first hearing as ordered. It was the counselor who canceled the other sessions. The counselor's report clearly states that he made no attempt to participate in the session. He wore headphones and ignored everyone the entire time. You ordered him to be present, my counselor replied. He was present. Given that the counselor felt that there was no point in continuing counseling, I would ask you to grant the divorce as petitioned. Not in this life. I am scheduling 4 weeks of counseling. Mr. Stedman will attend and he will participate. The office was set up in exactly the same format as the first time. 2 chairs about a foot apart stood in front of a desk. The counselor sat down at an empty desk, save for a yellow notepad and a picture of a pretty woman, in my opinion about 35 years old, and a child who looked to be about 6 years old. Mr. Stedman, he said, please have a seat. I started to move the chair again. Julie held out her hand to stop me, and I bounced back. I am notifying you both that any physical contact will be construed as an attack on my person and will be responded to accordingly, I said. Julie ahed, pulling away. I went back to moving the chair over and then sat in it. I pulled out my cell phone again. Mr. Stedman, the judge has ordered you to attend the hearing. Mr. Stedman, I know. I'm using my phone to record the session to prove my participation. My attorney says that some counselors have been known to have their own agendas. Since my soon-to-be ex-wife has been seeing you for some time, I feel that you may have already developed a relationship with her that could work against me. What if I object to recording sessions? The counselor asked. Then I will go back to court and ask for another counselor. There is that option. The only reason I haven't done it yet is because it would cause even more delays. Julie, how do you feel about sessions being recorded? He looked at her. Never mind, she said, waving her hand. Can we just get started? Okay then, Gerald said. What I'd like to do to get started. Before we start, I interrupted him. Can I ask you a question? Of course, he said. You can ask questions at any time. I may ask you to refrain from asking questions at certain points in the process, but right now ask. He smiled encouragingly at me. "Have you slept with her yet?" Julie gasped, but Gerald didn't seem embarrassed. "No, Julie and I have not and will not have any sexual contact," he said softly. "It would be inappropriate, even if I wasn't already very happily married. Does that answer the question?" I nodded. I believed him. He must have been one of the few men Julie had met in the last year who hadn't slept with her. Okay. Then, as I said, what I'd like to do first is set our expectations. Since I've had several conversations with Julie already, I'd like her to outline what she would like to accomplish in these sessions and what her desired outcome would be. I would ask you, while she is speaking, to refrain from comments or questions until the end. Once Julie tells us what she hopes to accomplish, I would ask you to do the same. I refrained from commenting. I didn't look at Julie as she began to speak. "First of all, Brian," she began. "Do not talk to me," I growled. "Talk to me, Julie," Gerald said. "Tell me what you wanted to hear from Mr. Stedman." I wanted him to hear how sorry I was for hurting him. I know what I did was wrong. It's just that he spent so much time at work on his business trips and I was lonely. I realize how much I hurt him, and if I could go back and change the past, I would give anything to do that. I love him more than anything in the world. I know we can get through this. If he would just give me a chance, I would show him that I can be the best wife a man could ever dream of. We could raise our child together and give him a wonderful life. Maybe even a brother or sister. I want us to be together. I know we can do this. We can get through this. I know we can. Gerald smiled at Julie. "Okay, thank you, Julie. Now you, Mr. Stedman, what would you like to say?" I stared him down. "I'd like to see a cheater festered by a gang of a dozen niggers catch a rare and incurable STD and die a slow and agonizing death." Julie burst into tears and ran out of the room. "That didn't help," Gerald remarked. "I don't want to help you. That fool spent a year fornicating with half the men in town, got pregnant, and tried to pass the child off as mine. If I hadn't gotten suspicious and asked for a DNA test, I'd be paying child support on some bastard right now. Tell me, Doc, how exactly am I supposed to behave?" "Your anger is natural, but you need to look past the anger at what you had." "Ian, do you actually know what the hell you're talking about?" I snapped at him. "Have you ever had the love of your life, someone you trusted with your heart and soul and were literally willing to die for, and that person shits on you so badly that you question your own sanity? When I found out what was going on, I wanted to die. I seriously considered killing myself. How can someone who claims to love someone hurt them so badly that they are driven to suicidal thoughts? Also, you'll notice that she never once said she apologized for what she did, for sleeping with all those men, for all the lies time after time, for getting knocked up and not even being able to guess who the father of the baby was. The only thing you can be sure of is that it wasn't me, not the man who should have given her the baby. So since you have no idea what it's like to be in my position, don't sit there with your sanctimonious smile and your book knowledge and tell me I should get over my anger. Right now, my anger is all I have. Just let me get this cheating woman out of my life and try to rebuild something from the shards she left me. I hope that counts as participation," I growled at him as I walked out of the office. When I got home, I decided to do a little preparation for the next session. Maybe I could prove my point. "I've asked Julie to let us do this session without her," Gerald said, when I walked into his office the following week. "I feel we can do better on an individual basis to start with. As long as it's still considered court-ordered counseling, I'm more than happy not to have to be in the same room with this fool." I sat down, placing the A4 envelope I was holding in my hands on my lap. "Can we try and refrain from name-calling, please? It's unconstructive and just gets in the way. I don't want to be constructive. I just want to go through these sessions and get this cheating wife out of my life for good. I never wanted these sessions in the first place. She is just determined to cause me as much misery as possible. She doesn't want a divorce because the prenup leaves her with nothing, so she's trying to get me to take her back. That's not going to happen. What about the baby? He's innocent. Of course he shouldn't be punished for. He's not my problem or my concern. You'd think I'd have to take on board every street kid who couldn't keep her legs closed and got knocked up. These kids have nothing to do with me, and neither does this child. What makes you so sure there's only one outcome to this? You obviously loved her very much. These feelings don't go away overnight. Your anger is masking it now, but once it subsides, and believe me it will, you will find that there are still feelings you can draw on, feelings you can use to rebuild your relationship, even make them stronger. That smile was back again. I wanted to punch him. It was time to give him a taste of his own medicine. I pointed to the picture on his desk. You have a nice family. Have you been married long? We're not here to discuss my 11 years, if my sources are correct. Childhood sweetheart, married right out of college, waited to have kids, and then little Ethan came along. He's what, 9 now? This picture must have been taken a couple years ago. How did you? He started. But did you know that dear Cheryl has her own secrets? Do you happen to know that when she says she's at her Pilates class on Wednesday afternoons while you work, she's actually at the Motel 8 on Patterson, sleeping with her personal trainer? That's completely ridiculous, he stammered, but I could see he wasn't sure. He had gone very pale. Really? I said, pulling some photographs out of an envelope. I put them on his desk one by one. They showed a pretty, slender woman entering a hotel room with a young, muscular man. He had his arm around her waist, and they were looking at each other lovingly. I pulled out the DVD and put it on his desk as well. There's also a videotape from inside the room if you want actual proof of what they're doing. It's pretty graphic, so I wouldn't watch it if I were you. I made that mistake when I got the private investigator's report. Those images will haunt me for the rest of my life. He looked like he was about to throw up. Oh, and one more thing, Ethan. No, he said quietly. Please, God, no. I pulled the DNA report out of the envelope. It looks like the fitness instructor isn't the first. I think he would be too young to be Ethan's father, but whoever the father is, it's not you, I said quietly. He got up and ran to what I assumed was the bathroom next to his office. I heard him vomit noisily into the toilet. Do you understand now? I asked him as he sank back into his chair. Tears were streaming down his face. He looked at me with dead eyes. Now do you see the pain she caused me and why I should remove her from my life? He nodded sluggishly. Good. Now there's one more thing you need to know. He looked at me with fear. Is there something else? He asked pitifully. It's all fake. None of what I just showed you is true. As far as I know, your wife is as loving and faithful as you think she is, and Ethan is your son. But a photograph? Photoshopped. It's amazing what can be accomplished with a few Facebook posts and a little time and effort, I replied grimly. If you were to ask anyone even remotely competent to examine the photos, they'd tell you they're all fakes. I pulled some more photos out of the envelope. But to prove it, these are the originals I made them from. His face began to redden, and I wondered if he was going to attack me. And the DVDs? He asked. The blank disc. The DNA report? It's actually a DNA report on my soon-to-be cheating ex's child. I just changed the names and dates. He sat stunned for a few minutes, new tears streaming down his face. Why would you do that? What could you possibly accomplish by destroying my marriage and my life? That was not my intention. That's why I told you almost immediately that it was all fake. I never meant for you or your family to be irreparably harmed. I just wanted you to truly understand for once the pain I went through, the feelings of loss, anger, and resentment. You only had a few minutes of that. I'm still experiencing it. Your short-term suffering is my life now and in the future. Making me sit here with this fool, listening to her spout her crap about how she loves me and wants me back, just means I have to keep reliving the pain over and over again. There are laws about cruel and unusual punishments. Why don't they apply in this case? I just want to move on, try to pick up what little I have left and get on with my life. Why can't you and the courts let me do that? I gathered all the papers from the table and put them back in the envelope. I'm actually sorry I had to do this, but I needed you to understand. I walked out of his office. Your Honor, I have a report on the court-mandated counseling my client was ordered to attend. My attorney once again addressed the judge. I have a copy, the judge barked. It appears that the counselor feels, even after only 3 sessions out of 8, that this marriage cannot be saved, and that for the well-being of all parties involved, including the child, the best solution would be to allow it to dissolve. Yes, Your Honor. I ask that the dissolution of the marriage be ordered in accordance with the petition. The judge looked at me for a long time. I looked straight ahead, not wanting to meet his gaze. Affirmative, he finally said, banging his gavel. It's over.